to infinity and beyond.
I'm Roger and James here from DisKingdom.com. In this episode, we are going to be discussing a really kind of interesting video that I saw over the weekend from Rob Plays, where he talked about the possibility of, or the idea of, Disney purchasing Ubisoft because Disney aren't creating their own games anymore. And he kind of went into some detail of his ideas of, how Disney went into licensing after Disney Infinity, the success of Star Wars Battlefront, what they've done in the past, but also saying, Disney generally have always had control of their own products. Disney would, but it was really the Bob Iger era right now is about buying existing companies and getting other companies in to do the work rather than buy everything and do everything yourself. That's that's his strategy. He's Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars are some big purchases, but he's been and BAM Tech. They have a different strategy to just build everything from scratch. Now, my first thought is you'll find the link to the video below as well. Was in theory Ubisoft is actually quite a good company for them to go after because they do license games. They've literally been fighting a takeover from another company most of the last year. They've been really scrapping to stop this company buying them out. But what did you think of this?
I understand where he's coming from in this, like the things you mentioned where Disney is trying to basically build like a horizontal monopoly where they control everything of their product from beginning to end. But considering this is also the same group of people who completely canned the in-house studio, I don't see them turning around and purchasing any studio, Ubisoft or otherwise.
Yeah.
And I've got to be honest, I enjoy games like Ghost Recon Wildlands. It was an okay game. I like a lot of the properties for Ubisoft, but it doesn't really make sense for Disney to go after them.
Yeah.
They haven't done a Disney licensed game, Star Wars, Marvel, whatever, in a very long time.
Yeah. They've had a big hit recently with Mario vs. Rabbids. That's been a massive hit. But for me, I think I come down to one or two things. First off, Ubisoft, it would make sense to go after a big company like that. My problem is, I do not feel the executives at Disney understand gaming. I would say the way that they've been the last few years is very understandable why we have such a low threshold for what they do, because they can games like that. If it's not taking enough money, they just throw it away. Disney Infinity, the amount of mobile games being cancelled. The model that they went for with that when they brought everything in-house just didn't work because I don't think the infrastructure. Maybe the people within in the gaming section all get it, but they're being stomped down from the top. They're not being given the money or the support that they need. The way I look at it is, look at Epic Mickey 2. Epic Mickey 2 was a game that they brought the company, they brought Junction Point, they released one game, did alright, second game didn't do as well as they wanted, they just canned the company. That was done. They did it with another one as well, where they just, one bad hit. Can you imagine, Disney just made Alice Through the Looking Glass, bombs. Well, we're not making any more movies anymore. Or we've made a really bad TV show. We don't make television. They don't seem to grasp that gaming is a medium, and just because you get one bad game shouldn't mean that you just give up and run away. And they seem to be that's what they keep doing.
It does, because they've had this cycle of we'll make our own games, so we're going to license them out. We're going to make our own games, we'll license them out. But also, they can work on multiple movies at a time in-house. You've got Alice Alice obviously done, but say The Lion King on one hand, you got Star Wars going over here, you got the Avengers and Thor Ragnarok over there, all the other animated movies they're working on, Frozen 2, Big Hero 6, etc. Whereas in gaming, they can only really do 2 or 3 at a time if they bring it in-house. Whereas if they shuffle it off to other companies, maybe Ubisoft, EA, obviously with the Star Wars license, Square Enix using the Avengers, then they can have a lot more balls in the air with a lot less risk to themselves.
Yeah, I think this is the big. I can't see this happening for another generation. I think we're going to need a new team in the top. I do think as time comes along, as the generations of executives become younger, or not even necessarily younger, but because now you're talking the generations of the 30, 40-year-olds coming in to the top of the business, which they don't quite do it. They'll have grown up with video games and will see it probably in a very different light to the older people who still look at it as just merchandise. It's just a piece of merchandise, rather than the way we look at it in the same way. A brand new game coming out like Marvel vs. Capcom this week, we view just as much as a new movie. They don't. If you're not into video games, it doesn't work like that.
And I think one thing that Disney also needs to keep in mind, actually not just Disney, all companies, is we're seeing a shift away from the AAA production. There will always be AAA games. There will always be Assassin's Creed Origin or Shadow of War or whatever. But I think for a lot of companies, you're going to start seeing the real money coming from, not independent games, but games they didn't quite invest as much in, but they put a decent amount of marketing behind. You'll see better returns on those. As long as it's not a bug-filled mess or just something completely derivative, then you can get good returns on these games. Because even, baseline Unreal 4 engine stuff looks pretty dang good. So
I think the problem as well is when they outsource, looking at generally my point of view now is, you have Square Enix doing Kingdom Hearts, you have EA doing Battlefront, you have Marvel vs. Capcom from Capcom, you have the Insomniac working on Spider-Man. These companies, you got the best people doing that particular thing they do very, very well. And they make better game. When it all gets brought in the house, things can get, some of the stuff for, Disney Infinity was very ropey. It wouldn't have flown if, and it's that thing, it's a Disney game, it's for kids. And it kind of, that does not fly with, Battlefront, or, the adults are not in that same thing. And as much as I like the idea of Ubisoft being a company, in some ways they are a good pickup, because they've got 20, 30 games on the go probably at any given time. They've got lots of independence. They're a massive studio, but I don't feel, while Disney's got their executives the way they are, they do not understand gaming, and until that happens, they aren't, I don't know, it feels like they didn't get it. The way they just canned it, the speed they did, and we're just going all licensing, that says to me, we don't know what we're doing. We can make money by, let's make Zum Zum. The Zum Zum game makes $1 billion, and EA brought in all this millions, but, oh my word, all the, Disney Infinity cost us money. Well, Disney Infinity was because they had too much influence from above interfering.
Yeah, and then there's also, the fact that Disney as a company always operates on the idea of, I have $1 million here, I can either put that $1 million into a known property and earn this much back, or I can put it into that property and get that much back, and there's no reason for me to go with the smaller amount than there is to go with the larger amount, which logically makes a lot of sense. However, it doesn't take into mind, the knock-on effect of what happens when you cut that lower property, because it creates a lack of trust. And that was, I think, the biggest hit from Disney Infinity was, in terms of gaming, mobile or otherwise, you can't trust that something created by Disney as a first-party creator is going to continue to be supported.
Yeah, and especially with the mobile, I feel like I'm writing a story every week about a game being retired.
You are, actually.
I am writing. I literally feel like I have been writing one about. They just, and it does knock it down. And an independent company, in some ways, they've got more invested. Sometimes, this is as a small business owner, I can see how, having been in large corporations, there's so much waste. There's so much wasted effort. There's so much fluff that nothing can get done very quickly. If it's raining today, I can go and buy some umbrellas, right? If you're in a larger corporation, you've got to go through meetings, and then you've got to go through secondary meetings. You've got to put in your budgets. And before, it's now Thursday, it's now the sun shining, so they haven't got the umbrellas. But it's that same kind of eulogy, I think, with big corporations, is they lose that when they're in there. And Ubisoft, like I said, is probably a good mode for it, a good company. But while these people are in charge that do not get it, I don't think they ever I think we're 10, 20 years from them doing anything ever again. And if they start looking at their money, because I mean, the Disney side hasn't really kicked into the mode yet. We're still waiting for it to get going. But the Marvel games and the Star Wars, we know there's 3 or 4 Star Wars games under development for console. We know it's the same for Marvel. And I'm sure Disney are doing the same. Once they start having 6, 7 massive hits a month, or a year coming through, all bringing in license revenue, which they've had no outlay, they're going to be looking. The Chiefs are going to be going, well, yeah, that's good. You're helping my bottom line, but there's no creativeness to it.
Well, I mean, you could argue that that's been something that's been going on at Disney for a little while. Yeah. There's a certain amount in the movies. Yeah, I know. It's. I remember watching the bit from Wreck-It Ralph 2 that they showed at D23, and a lot of the comments online after that were, there were a lot of great in-jokes in that. They had all the Disney princesses in it, but it was also just a little too, hail corporate, a little too in-jokey, and I could totally understand that. It was hilarious when I watched it, but at the same time, if you're not invested within that Disney mindset, then you're probably going to be looking at it going, this is kind of cringy. And I feel that their gaming division's kind of in that same way, or at least the way people view, their executives view the gaming division. It's like they're not on the inside, so they don't care.
No. I mean, you could have the guys at Disney Interactive that knew exactly what they needed to do, had the vision, knew what they needed, but if they couldn't get it past the people at the top, or they suddenly go, no, we need more Yondu, then that's the problem.
Which is kind of funny because, after Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think a Yondu figure, if he'd had the Mary Poppins pose, probably would have done just fine. It might not have been a system seller, but I think people would have been like, oh yeah, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. So that would have been kind of fun.
Yeah. No, they definitely would love to know your thoughts. And as per usual, you go check. There'll be a link to the original video for Rob Plays as well. So let us know what you guys think of this idea and why it might work or might not work. As per usual, you can find us over at DisKingdom.com. Remember to hit that follow button, like button, or subscribe button, depending on which platform you're watching or listening this on. James, where can they find you?
If I'm a heroiclegacy.com.
And on that, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Later.